Shabbat shalom, my friends. Well, Erev Rosh Hashana is Monday evening, September 6th. After a mad rush of weeks and of seasons, we have reached the month of Elul, the last month of the Jewish calendar year. We read chapters of Pirkei Avot in Elul as we strengthened our ethical core. We heard shofar blasts all during the month of Elul to call us to prepare for acts of teshuvah, of repentance. Elul came, and now it's in its final days. For my rabbinic and cantorial colleagues, nothing feels ready yet, because Elul also brought with it a COVID-driven need to reconfigure the physical settings for our worship. So there's anxiety, struggling to be ready. And as for the rest of us, well, all of that spiritual preparation that we really intended to undertake somehow just didn't get done this year. But Erev Rosh Hashana will still begin this coming Monday evening, and somehow the clergy will be ready, and somehow the rest of us, we're going to be ready. Candles, wine, around challah, perhaps with apples and honey, perhaps with cinnamon, perhaps simple, maybe with raisins. Oh, we will gather in settings that will be safe and secure, and we will be open for transformation, for new blessings, and for new opportunities. Have I mentioned the one other thing that occurred in this month of Elul? We suddenly found ourselves in the closing chapters of the book of Deuteronomy. 40 years have passed. The Israelites stand at the borders of the land of promise. Soon they will enter, but not before their leader Moses dies. Moses now has almost completed his sermon of farewell. Our Sedra is Nitzavim, Deuteronomy 29:9 and following. This tiny Sedra is filled with texts that are such gems that they are to be found scattered throughout our prayers for Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur. See, I set before you this day life and prosperity, death and adversity. Choose life so that you and your descendants will live by loving the eternal your God, by holding fast to God. Choose life. Choosing. That's a simple word, right? Do you like cinnamon babka or chocolate babka? Choose. Dodgers or Yankees? Choose. Forest or the seashore? Well, choose. Superheroes or Tolstoy? Choose. But choosing can be agonizingly difficult, with implications reaching far beyond our personal palates. Certain choices will shape our lives, and they therefore become paralyzingly difficult. Other choices, no, they just refer to transient matters, sort of like that gourd at the end of the book of Jonah. At this delicate moment of time in our country, we are being forced by circumstances far beyond our personal control to make critically important choices. Hard, complicated, impactful choices. My friends, storms are raging. Category 5 storms are raging. Everywhere we look, human rights are being challenged. Should everyone have the same right to vote without undue obstacles or limitations? Should we make voting easy for everyone, or just for those whom we really want to show up in the voting booth? Storms. Besides rebuilding bridges and highways, should we be rebuilding our systems of education, of healthcare, the social welfare net? Storms, racism, and anti-Semitism have found brazen, emboldened voices of support in response to the latest census data indicating that America will soon be a majority-minority country. It seems easier now for racist language and racist behavior to fill the public square. Are many folks watching or listening right now aware that the Durban 4 UN-sponsored Conference on Racism will be convened very soon, September 22nd, and that conference will be fouled by vicious anti-Semitic assaults and canards, all under the sponsorship of the United Nations. Storms. School board meetings are being disrupted by physical violence regarding mandating children to wear masks in school. Physical violence. Children's health is increasingly at risk as anti-vaxxers mount their challenges. Storms. We are face to face, speaking of storms, with the devastating impact of climate change all across the globe. We know that matters are growing more and more destructive. And just now, that Texas law assaulting what is left of a woman's right to control her own body has been what? Sustained by the Supreme Court of the United States. Storms. Category 5 storms. We must weather those storms. Not one of them, but somehow all of them. But how? In these waning moments of 5781, I would like to quote Moses Mendelssohn, one of the most significant of Jewish philosophers. Even as I acknowledge Dr. Christine Hayes of the Shalom Hartman Institute of Jerusalem for reminding me of the text, listen to what Mendelssohn said. Brothers, if you care for true piety, let us not feign agreement where diversity is evidently the plan and purpose of providence. None of us thinks and feels exactly like his fellow. Why then do we wish to deceive each other with delusive words? Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn is firmly convinced that in the divine scheme of things, diversity and not uniformity best reflects the divine intention. Perhaps therein lies our own path forward for the year 5782. Diversity is a given of human existence. So stop obsessing over the pursuit of uniformity. Such a pursuit is both dangerous and futile. In the presence of diversity, we humans are hardwired to experience fear and aggression. Give us difference, we get afraid. By recognizing such tendencies, we can control them. Our ideological opponents might appear to us to be seriously, even dangerously foolish, but we are ill-served if we fail to consider that some of their positions might in fact be principled. To weather the storms, to battle the storms, even as they rage, we must be convinced first and foremost that apathy is not an option. Apathy is not on the table. We need to clarify which storms touch us the most deeply and which ones we must leave for others to handle. We need to discard actions that by their very nature demean our values. Weaponizing shame is not an option for us. Meanness and cynicism are not options for us. Virtue signaling is not an option. But forming intentional communities, now that's an option. Grassroots organizing, that's an option. Joining hands with those who understand the absolutely critical nature of those national elections that will be with us in just over a year is an option. Flooding news outlets of all kinds with letters and joint statements, that's an option. Funneling financial support to those select organizations that best express our values, that's an option. Well, Shakespeare said it best. I guess he usually does. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, listen, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. That's it for now. That's it for this year. Shabbat shalom. Shana tova. Blessings for a good, sweet, healthy new year. See you. I'll be speaking with you next year.